Welcome to the Commentary Podcast. Just a quick disclaimer, none of these opinions reflect the greater Phillipian board, but are our own opinions. Today we're discussing Blackness at Andover, the first part of a larger mini Black History Month series. I have three wonderful guests joining me tonight. Start with name, pronouns, where you are from off campus, and what Black History Month means to you.
Hi, my name is Tyler Baty. I am a junior from Oakland, California, and I go by he and pronouns. And Black History Month means to me learning what the people have done before me to benefit the community around me and the world itself.
Hi, I'm Murathime Daisley, and I'm a lower from Macungie, Pennsylvania. I use she, her pronouns. And Black History Month means to me celebrating those who come before me and those who come after me, as well as celebrating certain parts of my identity.
Hi, I'm Saraya Angbazo. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an upper from New Jersey, but I live in Johnson. Black History Month means a time to celebrate my family and my friends and the accomplishments of all my ancestors and the culture of my father and grandfather.
And I'm the host, Micheal. I'm from South Carolina. I use he and pronouns. And Black History Month for me is a reflection period where I just really take a moment to celebrate my own skin and everything that comes with that. So first question, and anyone can take this. How are you individually celebrating Black History Month?
For me, I would say just digging in deep into what my culture truly means as to how it affects the world and my community around me.
I think just recognizing the time and effort and passion from all my friends and peers at Andover and all the effort that they're putting into hosting all these wonderful Black History Month events around campus. Just recognizing that and appreciating that.
For me, it's just connecting, like Saraya was saying, like with my family and with my friends and the people who I share like my skin with, my culture with, just to get in touch with that part of my identity more and just to learn about myself through my culture.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think attending events is one way I really enjoy just connecting with other Black students at Andover and Black faculty and just, because I'm not with my family, but it's like, this is the community I'm in. We get to celebrate that together. What is the Andover administration, the adult side of campus, doing well in regards to celebrating Black History Month?
You got
this. Is the silence because we don't know, or there is nothing they're doing well?
I think it is a matter of recognition. I think that Black administrative members here at Andover have done a great job at making sure the Black community is recognized, whether it be clubs or events or just different things going on campus to make sure that the Black community is recognized too.
I agree with your point. I think this isn't necessarily Black History Month related, and I don't want to be like, this didn't happen during the month, but it's like, this counts for like you don't have to do anything for Black History Month now that you've done this. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but our MLK Day speaker was just I think a great example of just having someone on stage and just who she's not representative of Black culture, but she is authentically Black in her own skin. And that was just a great, because, these ASMs are recorded and uploaded to PANet. So it was awesome to know that the most important ASM speaker of the entire year was just unapologetically herself.
I agree. I think that our school or our administration does a good job in moving away from the traditional conception of what Black History Month should be, just teaching about Rosa Parks and teaching about MLK and then just calling it a day, but rather taking the day on and doing workshops and learning about even important Black members of our instant community here in Andover and then extending it to the nation and as well the world, I think is very important.
I agree. I think this ties to what I was saying earlier, but I think the administration helping and creating the space for like the BSU, for Athlet Am, for all these different groups on campus, sisterhood, brotherhood, create the events that they're creating. Just working with students, I think has definitely been a very like powerful move on campus.
And where could there be more room for improvement from the adult side of campus in terms of celebrating Blackness and supporting Black students?
I think it's really easy to celebrate, or not easy, but like I think it's more convenient to celebrate Black achievements, Black history, because it's so clear about how the great achievements that our people have made. But I think the support is like an area that it always needs so much attention, in the sense of like to go through what like our people went through. There's so many like taints of like that oppression and those that take a toll on like our mental health, our mental wellness. And I feel like school does a good job in providing certain resources in terms of mental health, but especially like specific to certain racial groups or certain other types of groups. I think would be really cool to see.
In my history class, U.S. history for uppers, a couple months ago when we were learning about like the transatlantic slave trade, we learned about Andover's role in slavery and upholding slavery, or really aiming to stay neutral about the entire situation itself. In our discussions about that, we talked about how Andover today can really bring like that content more into what we're learning as a whole, like not just for upperclassmen, not just for uppers who are taking History 300, but how we can implement that more into our daily basis in history throughout all the entire grades, or just in Black History Month as a whole. I think there's definitely so much more room for the administration and I guess faculty as a whole today to really talk about Andover's connection to the civil rights movement, to slavery, and just bring that more into the center of our focus this month.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what Saraya was saying, as a freshman, I can't really take U.S. history yet. That's just not in my courses yet. But it would be great if I could have options for classes that, supported that Black knowledge. Because as a Black student at Andover, I would want to learn about more of my culture and what my people have done. And it's just interesting how there's so many things that we can learn about, but I can't learn it until upper year. So it would be interesting to see if Andover allowed that Black knowledge to be passed down when you first get here.
That's a really interesting point, and I circling back to Murathime's point, making an Instagram post about Black History Month when it's National Black History Month as a business, because that's really what Andover is first and foremost, is convenient. And posting Happy Juneteenth after it becomes a national holiday is convenient. And so it's I don't want to diminish anything that the adults in power may do as just doing it because it's a social trend, because it's the acceptable thing to do. But I think that there could be more focus on what isn't done, and to make sure that to reiterate that what is done on the Instagram, what is done in the Andover admissions pamphlets and stuff like that is genuine. And what about students? What does the student body do well or not well in regards to acknowledging Blackness and celebrating Blackness?
I think this also has to do with what you're saying in the sense of the social media aspect of it. And I think it could be part of it could be miseducation. Part of it could be lack of resources to good materials and resources about Black history. But I just think that a lot of our history or celebrating our history turns into a trend, or it turns into something that is just to be followed, just to stay quote unquote woke, but not actually just actually appreciating and celebrating the community for what it is, rather just trying to follow a trend and trying to look progressive or trying to have this appearance. And I feel that's where it's dangerous, because then it desensitizes the actual meaning of Black History Month, and then turns it to just like a trend and another hashtag. And yeah.
Murathime pretty much said everything for me.
Yeah, she kind of got all the bullet points. I got nothing.
I remember before coming to this school, the Black at Andover Instagram page, and reading through every single instance of, or every single post on that Instagram account. And I think that was really, I went to majority white schools, but I was like in elementary school and middle school. So I feel like it was in South Carolina. If something was said to me that I probably wouldn't appreciate today, it probably flew over my head. But I think like reading these examples laid out, it made me really scared, to come here, because it's like I'm away from my parents. I don't know like what support systems would be in place, how to navigate like situations like that. And I don't know if I'm necessarily close to any adults that I'd feel comfortable opening up to about, and like if someone said something about me that would warrant me submitting something to the Black at Andover page, which has been unactive for 4 years now, because I know like very many institutions and very many spaces had Black at Andover or Black at insert accounts, and they all ended around the same time. I revamp round 2. And I'm not saying that because I think like I experience so many examples of racism every single day, but like I think it's important that if something was said about me, or if something happened to me, that I have that outlet, because I think at least if I saw an iteration of that, I would read it and I'd be like, oh, let me watch my behavior. Let me become more, because I don't know, like, I guess any tangible way to like educate people. Like, I don't know if like speaking up in the scenario that's like, A, it's not really my job to, have to stand up for myself, but B, it's like, you should know better. But like, yeah, that's just a thought I had.
Yeah, I agree. With the Black at Andover Instagram page and all these different instances that it posts about, we just, like, as a community, we can't let those fall back into memory. Like, those posts haven't been active in, you said, 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure like there's so many people on this campus that don't even know about the page's existence. So as a whole, we can't just let that fall into our deep past. We have to make sure that it stays present and at the center of all the discussions that were happening.
And to echo what both Saraya and Tyler just said, like, racism has not stopped since 4 years ago. Like, I am sure that there have been more and more instances here that have made Black students feel uncomfortable, and across like the whole private school sector or whatever it is. And I just think that we can't be uncomfortable to talk about it because it reminds us of like our past, like, because it's still ongoing and it's still an issue, and that it makes like Blacks, I'll speak for myself in the way of like, it makes me uncomfortable because I just don't know who I would talk to about this, because suddenly I take on the responsibility of feeling, so I don't want to make my teachers uncomfortable because I don't want to talk about how like a microaggression or something that I feel like they can't relate to. And I feel like that is just not the environment that we want to create here.
Right. These harsh conversations that are happening or that have to happen about race, about being Black at Andover, they can't be isolated just to the affinity spaces that we have for Black students at PA. They have to be expanded and spread and shared with the entire greater community.
Yeah, that's like a great point. Like, I really am struggling to think right now, like, what would I do? Like, what adult would I like go to? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, doesn't really feel like something you'd submit to ethics point. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, and Black students, do you think we celebrate, uplift, and support each other enough in this fast-paced environment we attend school in? Perhaps there's some room for improvement.
I don't know like how exactly we can improve, but I know that I think so far we are doing a good job of supporting each other as a Black community. I know of, AMP being that, athletic and mentoring program, somebody, same skin tone as you, mentoring you through this Andover process is just a really great thing. It's something I'm really new to. And I think it's a really good idea from the jump, especially because, Andover is not the easiest place to be in and reside in. So, you can always use that help to, guide yourself through the nooks and crannies of what Andover can do.
I agree. My AMP mentor is my favorite person on earth. I text her, ask her how college is. We just have such a great bond, and I'm really lucky to have that. And I think she is someone who, if I were to say that I believe Black students at Andover are above and beyond in terms of supporting each other, she would be the example that I would provide. I don't know, like, how necessarily I feel, because I think that can start to crumble, especially when I think about, this is just such a competitive place. And, not that this is necessarily what I'm thinking about when I regard another Black person, but I know that, I had a conversation with a friend, and we're like, people are bucketed into, these categories based on identity, and that can, create some rivalry. And I think it does on an individual person to person basis. I think that makes me a little shaky. I think that I'm a little hesitant to say I would 100% believe that Black students are at Andover are good at supporting each other. And I don't know if they necessarily should have to, because A, there should be other support systems, and B, Black, especially at Andover, ends up being this big umbrella term of African American descent, of African descent, and those are different things, and those should be regarded as such as different things.
I totally echo what you're saying. I think, at least me personally, I find that the systems that are there in place, like AMP and BSU and all these great organizations for us to bond with one another. But I think that, and I don't even think it's necessarily a choice that all of us make for ourselves, but rather just traces of internalized racism, the chase to be the model minority, and just when you are put in a category and forced to work from the bottom, and you are labeled as the minority, you're labeled as the ones who cannot do it. So there's so much competition even within our own group to be the best Black student, to be the best out of what is labeled historically to be the worst, or what shouldn't succeed. And I think that can be dangerous in a way, because it's harder. We need to lift each other up together, but it's here, especially in a space where it's so competitive, like Andover. And I'm sure you could observe it in all these Ivy Leagues and all these schools where the atmosphere is so competitive that it makes us turn on each other.
I agree. Even before coming to Andover and joining the BSU or AFL-AM or AMP, whatever it is, even before seeing the competition that exists within these spaces, there's always that, if you, personally speaking, as a Black student, coming from a very much not Black childhood, coming here, there's always that fear of going to these club meetings by yourself. I didn't have a friend to pull with me to come and go to that BSU meeting or go to that first AFA meeting. There's always that fear that is there, walking into these spaces alone. And I think all these different boards, they do such an amazing job of opening their arms up to the community, and saying, welcome, come here, even if you never had a space like this before, like we are here for you. So 100% like applause to them for that. But I think that like even with all their efforts, there's always still going to be that, that underlying stressor, I guess you could call it that.
I agree with your point, and I think it makes me think of like when before I came to Andover, I never dealt with this, but coming to Andover, I cannot tell you how many times I've been called not black enough by other black students. And it like pushes me away from spaces of BSU. I don't even know if I'm on the BSU email list. AFLAT-AM and all these like different spaces that like I'm curious in, but it's like all the people who I'm friends with can't go to those meetings, and all the people who like could go to those meetings are the ones who are like making me not feel great about like, my identity. So I just, it's a tricky, and then that like, I guess spills over into social things because it can be, I have found that, people's priorities are different again. And that's like, that goes back to my point of, is it necessarily the job of black students to should it be solely the job of black students to support each other? I believe personally that I'm always going to support another black person in any space I meet. And I don't know if I met someone else and they didn't necessarily support me the same way, I would just, accept that I have differing values with that person. But I think when speaking about Andover, I think the problem has to come, or the solution has to come from a larger, like the majority crowd or those in power, like adulthood and stuff.
Definitely. So I guess to sum up like what we were all kind of saying, there is like already so much love that is spread and shared like throughout the black community here at Andover, but there is of course still room for improvement. There's still room to fill that up, to 100%, 110%. But that shouldn't fall on the shoulders of black students at PA, not even black faculty. The entire administration, the entire school, faculty, students, we need to just, put in our hands, put in our resources and get this going.
And adding on to that, there should be more black faculty. Thank you, Saraya, Murathime, and Tyler. It's been awesome having you guys, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in today.